welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club with 4 race starts. We're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 in red. Look at this, Madonna and Dagan Shandy kicking straight out from the start here, stringing the group out, and nobody's being given a nice gentle roll into the course today.
Moving up and through the field, it is indeed only 5 riders left of the Category 4 race field. In front of our Category 3 leaders. She broke away early, she formed a group of 5, she took Brittany Litton with her when she attacked, and then she went solo on the climb. Ella Vink, your winner.
But Rado is right up at the front of this group. She's in touch with Rado. They are pushing on. The Category 3 riders can see the line. Can they make it? It's going to be into the last few meters. It's the kick for the line. They're going to make it. It's going to be Agadello, I think, who's going to take it. The gap is 3 seconds. It's 5 seconds. It's yo-yoing as the speeds vary. Bulgarian is coming in Category 3. I've seen 15 watts per kilo come out of her. But Dallas says she's passed by Bulgarian. Bulgarian has put the massive sprint in. It's Bulgarian who goes over the line. She takes the win.
Mary Joyce Cokie, she can see the banner now. She has ridden away from the Category 3 group. She caught Ella Vink, the leader, on the road. Mary Joyce Cokie takes the win on Category 3 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. To Holweller's looking like she's coming in for the final. She's going to take this. Holweller is going to take the win today in Category 4.
Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We are bringing you race number 1 of our August qualifiers. We had a cracking month in July with some fantastic finals. My name's Matt Payne. I am here in Glasgow up at the World Championships. I'm joined from the Full Speed Event Studios in Sheffield by the one and only...
Well, I was going to say Emma Martin, but I was hoping you were going to say that too. It's great to be with everybody today, and I have just touched right on a piece of paper in front of me that it is August, because I cannot believe we are the 6th of August already, and we are qualifier race number 1.
I know, time flies when you're having fun, but we are on a cracking course today in Arabia. We have got an absolutely brilliant race lined up. I was on the downhill yesterday, but this one, well, this one finishes all uphill.
Oh.
Take us through the course, Emma.
Yeah, today we go uphill, not downhill. We are in Arabia on the Hebel Hayes course. 633 metres of climbing for our women today, over the 35 kilometres. And you can see 2 climbs there. One uncategorised climb, that's the aquarium climb, 2.1 kilometres long, 1.2% gradient. But the key climb today, that is our category 2 climb coming towards the end of this race. It's 7.5 kilometres long with an average gradient of 5.5%, and that checker flag will be at the top. Now, along the way, there are 5 300-metre sprint segments as well, which will give us an indication of the racing across our 4 race categories today.
And it's not just all about that final climb, is it, Emma, where we do have that big climb to the the foundation of the race, and somebody's winning performance potentially is going to be made on the earlier sections. On those climbs, the aquarium climb, we know is going to break people apart. We're going to take people out, and anybody suffering after that, well, we've got that big climb that comes out. It's not very long, but it's steep just before our 5th and final sprint of the day. So those sections, for me, they're key. Let's see what is going to happen. We have our 4 categories lined up. Category 1 in yellow, Category 2 in green, Category 3 in blue, and Category 4 in red. And it is Category 4 who will go away. 5 minutes between each of our groups on their start times. So it means that the Category 1 have all the rest of the race field in front of them when they set off. Now, those race fields, we're getting bigger and bigger fields, and that Category 4 race field is absolutely a stack full of riders who we've seen put in some great performances. Emma, who stands out for you?
Yeah, well, today, category 4, 17 riders on the start sheets today, and we're seeing quite a lot of movement between the categories. You know, this is qualifier 1 in August, new riders coming in and dropping into category 1, riders in the other categories moving and progressing. Now, in category 4 today, Giuliano is here, Geraldo, Sarasuk, Vink, Madeira is here, so is Tanglian, as well as a number of other riders. Alcarbi is on the start sheets. Now, we're seeing Holweller and Lytton move up. So that was 1 and 2 in our July final from Category 4. So those two being rewarded with progression to Category 3 today, leaving the field a little bit more open for a top 5 position. So really looking forward to seeing what happens here. 14 different riders last month made it into the top 5. Who are we going to see today?
Well, here we go. This is the start of the racing, and this is a qualifier number 1 away and off. This is where the riders now need to show us what they're made of. Time to set the marker down. Maybe say to everybody else, with the movement of Dalise, Holweiler and Lytton, I'm the new big dog here, and I'm going to be the rider who's going to take this out, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm made of. So we are going to watch the riders come through this start, one of the nicest starts of the entire plethora of routes we use, because it's relatively flat, it's incredibly scenic, and generally I think it's a little bit calmer. Maybe it's all the trees and the lush verdant vegetation around the sides. What do you think, Emma?
Well, I think it's the water and the boardwalk. You know, who doesn't want to start a bike race on a bit of boardwalk going over the water? Absolutely beautiful. And the graphics really showing us that today as we see the category 4 riders cleanly out the start pen. Now, that is a good category 4 pack, rolling along very steadily now as they move through into the second minute of racing today. So the pack looking very, very comfortable. And you're right, Matt, this is a very nice start. So the first segment, which is a 300-meter sprint segment, comes at the 3-kilometer mark, and it is pretty much flat until we get to that point, and then we start to see the more rolling sections on this course. So a really nice steady start today on this course for our riders, allowing the pack to come together and to move well on the course.
Yeah, certainly looking a very compact group. We've just seen 1 or 2 riders drifting off the back, 1 or 2 riders just starting to get themselves warmed up maybe on the course rather than doing that before their race start. And how much warm-up would you do on this, Emma? What would be your preference, given that this is a long race? It's 35 kilometers. We've got a lot of climbing in there, 633 meters. You don't want to do too much, I guess, too soon, but you've got to be ready to go.
You do have to be ready to go because you don't know what's going to happen from the start, and the start is absolutely key. So you do need to be warmed up. It's not as though you can guarantee a very, very steady start and then a ramp through the race so that you can warm up going into it. I'd be looking at doing a good 20-minute warm up before and trying to finish that maybe 5 or 6 minutes before the go, so you can keep your legs warm and you can keep your legs moving, and then come out of the start pen, because if there is a very fast start, you are then ready and warmed up for it. You cannot assume that it's going to be a steady start on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We know we have seen attacks go from the gun. Now, today there is no attack going from the gun on this category 4 race. Tanglian is leading this out with Vink, Geraldo, Becerra, Madeira is in here, so is Kirchner and Alcarbi. These riders all in this pack as they continue to sweep round, just now coming into this roundabout, well underway on the course, and still all together at the moment.
So category number 4 making the way through, and at the moment you can see it is going to be Musa Al Mansouri who is going to be leading the pack away as we go towards that 2-kilometer mark. 3.5 minutes of racing nearly underneath the wheels and across the clock of the riders out in category 4. They are our standard category to go out onto the course first. They're the trailblazers, the pathfinders, who make the way down the track, and we of course are going to need to be ready for our category 3 who follow 2 and 1, because it comes thick and fast, the action here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. So you can see right hand side of your screen, category 4 continuing to push along nicely, currently doing 40 kilometers an hour, the equivalent of about 25 miles an hour. Really quick start for them, but controlled pace. Category 3 on the start line in blue, and their clock is ticking just under 1 minute to the race start time. And this is a cracking race field. Again, all individuals. And Emma, there's some names that stand out to me. People like Hadlock in, there's Barker, Conan, De Silva, Pelagio. But we've also got those new riders coming in. That's going to mix it up.
Well, indeed we do. Now, Emily Mabin is in here now. She won the final last week. Alzat was third. Hadlock was second. All three of those riders on the start sheet. Howeller and Lytton are coming up from Category 4, so it's going to be really interesting to see how they fare today. But lovely to see Noveling Conan back racing on the Sunday Race Club.
It is. You're dead right there. Let's watch these riders up and away.
Yeah, so our Category 3 riders are ready to go. And the seconds countdown, this is qualifier race number 1 in August. And the Sunday Race Club is away. So the Category 3 riders cleanly out of the start pen and make their turn onto the boardwalk as they cross through over the water, starting out on this race, which will end up on that Category 2 climb, the Hebel Hace. It is absolutely going to go skywards towards the end, but these riders, a nice flat start for the first 3 kilometres of this race to get this up and rolling.
Yeah, great to see it. A good point by you that we have got Mabin in here. I mean, she was a rider we know can sprint, but she can also climb. She's really becoming a great all-round rider, and I think really getting this platform dialed. But we've got experienced riders moving up from Category 4 to 3 in Hawaii, in Dallas, in Lytton in there as well. Plus, of course, people like Angel and Hadlock, who I think has been riding this as long as I've been talking about it. We've seen this a very long time now.
Yes, and it's going to be really interesting, isn't it? Because Howeller and Lytton were part and parcel of that What Woman team in Category 4 in the final last month. Now, all 5 of their team finished in the top 5 places. They were absolutely dominant in Category 4. So seeing the 2 riders move up into Category 3, that may well break some of the domination in Category 4 from that team. But it's going to be really interesting to see how it motivates the other riders to perform in Category 4, as well as taking a look at Lytton and Howeller having the extra level of competition that Category 3 is going to give them.
And as a rider who races, and I know you've raced extensively on esports as well as out on the mountain bike and the cross bike, when you get somebody moving up a category and coming in and joining you, are you trying to keep an eye on what's going on? I mean, it is very different moving from one category to another, but are you watching that? Are you aware of that? Is that something that you'd be looking for?
Well, I'd have done my research. I would have been taking a look at the results and probably at some of the footage of the Category 3 races if I was progressing, to take a look and see where I think I would be about benchmarking myself. And then particularly for my first race, I would probably be how should we say, marking the rider that I expected to be pretty much similar to see how things go, to read the race, because you don't know how those races are going to go and how the tactics work differently to the category you've been riding. So I would pretty much be looking at my first race being very much a learning experience, with then thinking about how I might engage the racing and the race tactics further down the road. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do, as to whether we just see them come and stamp their authority on the race and give it a go, as we've seen Coking, for example, when she moved up. She pretty much stayed with her similar tactics, and went hard from the gun to see how long she could last in the next category up. It didn't work for her to start with, but eventually it did after some time. She obviously progressed and she obviously worked through that, and she learned how to race in the next category up. So it really is about seeing now how Howeller and Lytton learn how to race in this category 3.
And Liberty Dallasay, who we've been in with, and Hawaii, and Dallasay, Lytton, Hawaii, really the 3 that go, that we're going to probably keep an eye on in terms of moving up. But there are established stars in there who really do make the running, and it's going to be interesting to see how they respond. I think that whole dynamic is really great. It's all part of the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club experience. It's all part of riding in those categories, which are based around people's ability. And don't forget, of course, if you are just joining in racing for the first time, you go to Category 1, but you don't stay there for long. The more you ride, the more tune-up Tuesdays, the more Sunday race clubs you do, the sooner you'll move into your respective category, whether that's 4, 3, or 2, which is our next category away. So the riders in green on the start line in Category 2, our penultimate wave of riders away. Again, a whole stack of individual riders in here who can be taken to the start line. And I've got to say, Lisa Hermansen with this climb, Everheckers, well, probably up there on the top of my list, but maybe not yours, Emma.
Well, there are some good riders in here, Claudia Marin is here. Mary Joyce Coking, who we've just been talking about, has now progressed to Category 2 from Category 3. So I think there's going to be interesting to see how she plays this out. Octeza is in here. Embring is in here. Ochoa, Daniel Walkenhurst, Kabadatan. We've seen all of these riders do really well.
We have indeed. So here we go. Category 2, ready to rumble. It's time to hit the boardwalk. It's time to make the way down the straight here on to the turns and then away to head out onto the course. Category 2 in the green. Who is going to push it into the red? Time to find out on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. And another smooth start here. What's going on today? Qualifier number 1. It's like everybody's decided at the moment. We did our final. We've really absolutely turned it inside out. We're going to have a nice steady start this time round. And then we'll save our explosive attacking power maybe for a little bit later.
Well, let's be serious here. It's a 7.5 kilometre climb at the end of this race. I'm sure they've had some serious thought about that and thought, absolutely going out hard from the gun is not what we want to do today. Let's have a nice steady rollout. Let's get our legs spinning and then let's face what's coming. It's very different. We see really different tactics out the start gun, very course dependent. When we were in Wollongong, that particular course does lend itself to a much faster start. So does the Outer Loop course in Australia. But these courses in Arabia, whether it's the Hayes or whether it's the Hafit, those courses, because of those particular big climbs, also when we're in Colombia, it really, the length of these climbs is phenomenal at the back end of these courses, and often then we do see a much steadier start, unless somebody is predicting a steadier start and decides to go from the gun and time trial away from them.
And it's that
we do see that sometimes,
element, isn't it? Yeah, that human element that we see sometimes. I agree 100%. It's what actually makes that variation, as well as the course. So it is a really interesting dynamic. And if you haven't seen the previous races, do please go back and have a look on Twitch TV. It is MyWhoosh Live on Twitch TV. Don't forget, of course, you can catch up with all the social media as well. Subscribe, hit those buttons, and make sure that you keep up to date. The more information you have, generally the better it is in terms of racing. And of course, pre-watch the show. So looking at Fabiana Catania on the attack, our leader on the road, and you can see lots of great solo attacks. Normally in this category it's been Ella Vink who's been off the front. Today it's Catania, the rider, who is winding it up here and sitting at a smooth pace. Just looking at that heart rate and the pedal cadence on the top left hand side of your screen, that heart rate's just sitting nice and steady, just starting to build a little bit, but the revs, they're in that sort of optimum 80-90 revs per minute range. She's looking good, Emma.
She is, and she's utilised that first small climb section. So you can see on the top right-hand corner of your screen, you can see the satellite navigation type image where you can see the road sweeping round. Catania is indeed the red blob on the track. She's also that little green triangle telling you exactly where she is. So she's just now come down off that descent, and you can see there's a flat bottom, and then we go up another climb again and up and over the top. And she's used that first main climb on this course today to break away from the group, and she has indeed broken away from the group. Now a 9-second, 10-second, it's hovering around that gap back to the main group, which Giraldo is indeed leading. So Catania utilising the course. Now the question is, can she stay away and make this stick, or will the group come back to her?
Well, we will find out. You can see she's on our bottom right-hand side of the screen. Bottom left-hand side of the screen is Category 3, one big pack, as is Category 2, top right-hand side of the screen. But we are going to dive in with our Category 1. It's where everybody starts. It's ground zero. It is the cream of the crop, the top of the tree, however you want to phrase it. These riders are the riders who are going to be taking this out. Already seeing the emotes going up there from the riders. We've already seen the Usain Bolt-esque lightning celebration. But this is a big field. This is going to be a tough day today, I think.
This is going to be amazing. 50 riders. I'm going to say that again. 50 riders on the start sheets today in Category 1. 100 women on the Sunday Race Club this week. Absolutely fantastic. Now, it is a packed field. Barda Skyer, Jacina Menezes, Morgane Olsen, Biarhead, Fua, Sanchez, Manshandi, Acevedo, Enquist, Garcia. Para has moved up. Cavado is here. I could keep going, but we will miss the racing. So this is an absolutely phenomenal women's field today, and I am seriously looking forward to this. Now, last week in the final, the team was split by 5 seconds. The women are away now for August. This is going to be close. The strength and depth of this Category 1 race field is fantastic, giving us amazing racing on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
So our riders are away. They're out from the start. Category 1. This is it. They're going to have to see if they can make this a race to win. Will they be able to take this out? I think we're going to see with this volume of riders, it's just naturally going to be quicker because of the draft effect, because you have just more shelter. And you can already see we are starting to see splits and breaks. Top right-hand side of your screen, that satellite navigation view that Emma was talking about, it's already starting to break up. It's already starting to become an issue in terms of staying in with that group. And if you lose the group, Emma, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, the pace this group are going to be moving at today, and as you indicated, Matt, the draft that is available to these riders to make that journey in this group a little bit more comfortable is going to give a higher kilometres per hour to this leading pack. And if you lose the group, if you come off the back of it, it is going to be so hard to get back on because you are not going to be benefiting from that draft and the speed at which that pack is moving. Now, if I was in this pack of 50 riders, I would be wanting a faster start than we saw with our other categories, because there are not less than 20 riders in this group. There are 50 riders on the start sheet, and there's no way, even if you know you've got phenomenal legs today, you want to take a big pack in. So I think this race is going to be much more aggressive than category 2, 3 and 4. Though saying that, we've already seen an early lone leader in category 4. So you never know, I can always be wrong.
Well, that's the wonders of in the commentator putting the voice to the action and the words to the action. Something both myself, Matt Payne, and I know Emma Martin enjoy endlessly, and that's why we do it all day long, every day, pretty much. Spend our life watching bike racing, seeing bike racing, great racing, great action. And I think, Emma, your prediction, well, it's coming true here because we've got Coking on the front. I'm going to take a little bit of a wing because we've got Overheck quickly responding to that as well. So the prediction's starting to come true, but this bridge that takes you into this climb, going up over the river here, it really has started to break things up. These slight trigger points when you see a changing gradient, the riders are using those, and they're really effective at splitting the group up.
Yes, they are indeed, because you're quite right. Riders are indeed using the terrain to split the groups. And whilst we've said that, you know, category 2, 18 riders, you don't want to take a group of 18 riders into the bottom of that climb because pretty much they are all very strong. So Coking here, and this is interesting, you know, this move from Coking, she's moved from category 3 to category 2. This is the first time she's raced in category 2, and she's not changing her tactics from racing in category 3. She's doing exactly what she used to do, pushing on hard at the start. Now we know she's not one of the strongest climbers. You know, she loves a bit of a punchy rolling road to do exactly what she's doing now, but a steady state climb like we've got at the end of this is not her strong point. So we've regularly seen choking, go hard when there is a big climb at the end, to give herself as much of a gap as possible on the race field to see if she can hold it. Sometimes it works for her and sometimes it doesn't, but that was in category 3. This is category 2, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens.
It will indeed, and we're now going across to category 1, where we're not seeing that yet, but we are on our way into that same point. You can see the bridges that go up and over. You can see the vertical height there, just out to the right of the pack as they come down along the side here with the water to the right, and you can just see those bridges running over the top and through. And for me, that height gate, you don't think it looks a lot. It's only small percentages. It looks short on the profile, but it is. It's a long way up there. And if you were facing this, if you were going out, if you're on the World Championships in Glasgow and you see the flyovers there, they would look very similar, and they are massive climbs. And this, for me, it really is indicative of the course and the racing, because you can see just what the riders are going to go up, and how they get there, how they use this terrain is all part of that skill that the riders are learning. They're really, really good to see. But waiting for that kick, really interesting. We're in with one of our newer riders, Lucia Soria, at the moment, nicely tucked in with this group, 90 revs per minute on her pedal revs, and that is a nice pedal cadence. So keeping it smooth, keeping it fast, it allows you to react. If you push a big gear, if a rider attacks, what you're going to struggle to do is to rev up really fast, to increase that cadence quickly. It's much easier to increase 5 revs in 100 than it is 5 revs in 50, because that is a really, it's just simple physics. Because you already revving, you can get that little bit of a kick onwards. It's a smaller percentage relative to what you're doing, and therefore it's easier to respond. And I think for me, the riders that can sit at that nice, smooth 90 or so revs rather than sort of 50, 60, 70s, they're the riders who can respond to the attacks. They're the ones who are on top of the game as well, and it's more efficient. The ergonomics, so it's just really straightforward. Much more efficient sitting at that kind of rev range for your body and for your interface with the bike than it is. Now, the riders take that right-hand turn. This is the bridge. This is where we've seen that attack that Emma spotted in category 4, in category 2 as well. And this, it looks innocuous. It's not. It's enough to break this off. If you've got riders on the limit, they're going to pay for this. And you've seen the big guns come to the front now. Fua, we've seen at the front. We've seen Sanchez. We've just seen Cavedo up there. You know, the riders we expect to be racing an aggressive, fast race, pushing on to the front. But everybody knows this is where you need to be, up there. And look at this. Biarhead really nicely tucked in with this group. We've got Olsen up near the front. Alvarez in there as well. And then Bardeskaya quickly pushing on. We're starting to see that little bit of a stretch on the group as Olsen starts to wind this up on the front. The gaps are starting to open behind, so the pressure is being applied. We're at 3.8 kilometers of racing into the race today, and at the moment, as the gaps opened up behind, the riders starting to regroup nearer to the front as they come up over the top. And now this is where you need to be in a group. If you're solo at this point, if you're on your own, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, you are indeed, as we see the riders coming back together again. Now, before the bridge, the riders in that Category 1 race pack went through the first segment of the day, and that was the Abu Dhabi Sprint, 300 metres. But interestingly, it's the Category 4 race field that went through that the quicker. It's Myra Madeira with a 29-second pace going through in the fastest time. Al-Mansouri in 2, Giuliano de Gracia in 4. So looking like that, 29 seconds to 31 through there for Category 4. Now, Category 1, not too far behind. Angie Parra setting the fastest time from Category 1 in 17th position of 32 seconds. In fact, Category 1 and Category 2 literally went through there at exactly the same pace. So interesting to see our Category 1 riders at the same pace as our Category 2 riders out of the start pen and through that first segment of the day. Category 4, Well, they had the quickest start, and taking a look at those, they are on the bottom of the screen at the moment. So our Category 1 riders in yellow, just shy of 5 kilometres into the race. 7.3 our Category 2, 9.8 Category 3, and it is Catania who's held that lead in the Category 4 race. She is now coming up for 13 kilometres of this race now complete.
So as you can see, 4 categories on the road and 4 different sets of distances complete because of that staggered start. And with 4 categories, we have 4 different prize fund levels, because this is all about how fast the riders can go in each of their individual categories, not across the whole race field. So Category 1, even though they set off at the back, this is not a handicap race where they have to catch everybody. The prize fund is for everybody in your category. Now, our qualifier races have an individual classification, and the prize fund in there, 2,160 AED. The team classification only kicks in on our monthly finals, where we ramp it up even more. So the Category 4 is our standard level, so it gets prize money from 1st to 5th, just like all the rest of the categories, and like all of the Sunday Race Club and all of MyWhoosh, the prize money is equal on the men's race as it is in the women's race. Now, if we move from Category 4 to Category 3, we go up a step. Emma, it's a jump up, isn't it, each time?
It is indeed. So as our categories progress, so does the prize money. Now, just a reminder, the prize money is equal in the men's and the women's. So if you are with us for the men's race later, you will see exactly the same as here now in the women's race. Now, Category 3, today in the qualifier race, the first prize, 3,600 AED, and you can see on the monthly final that team classification progressing to 18,000 AED.
Well, it goes up again when we go to Category 2. 6,000 AED for the win individually today. 4,800 for second, 3,600 for third, all the way down to 1,200 for fifth. So you can see just how much it's ramped up. And of course, team classification doing exactly the same. When we go to Category 1, well, if you think that's lots of money, it's even more. It is 10,000 AED for an individual win, and it is 50,000 for the team competition. Now, if you've been watching our previous shows, you will know that we always try and give you some comparison for the money that it is in a different currency. Now, we've had all sorts of different currencies, and we want you to send your suggestions in to @BikingEmma on Instagram or @MattFixAPain. We want you to send in, what currency do you want us to tell you what 10,000 AED is? Emma, you are in the studio. I'm in the outside broadcast van up at the UCI World Championship. So I'm going to ask you, one, have you got a currency for us already?
I do. I'm going to give you it in Swedish krona. Yeah, Swedish krona. 10,000 AED in Swedish krona, 28,823 Swedish krona.
Say that again. How many? That's lots.
28,823 Swedish krona is 10,000 AED. It is lots, isn't it?
Fantastic.
But obviously of the same value, Matt, just to remind you. It's not more than 10,000 AED. It's exactly the same. That is how currency works. So if you want to know what the first prize for Category 1 is in your currency, you can either do the conversion yourself, or you can drop me a line @BikingEmma on Instagram, and we will ensure it's your currency that you want to hear about next week on the programme. If you can get it in quick enough, we could do the conversion for you in the men's race later if you are joining us then. But please do get in touch on Instagram @BikingEmma, and we'll see what we can do for you.
There you go. It doesn't
Well,
get any better than that. Instant
yeah.
conversion. All these are unofficial, of course, as per according to Google. So don't take it that when you go down to get your
Yeah.
currency converted into Swedish krona or whatever that is, it's going to be exactly what we say. But we are going to give you a guideline, let's say, rather than a fixed guaranteed exchange rate. Isn't that how it works when you go down
Well,
to get your you're spending money for your holidays? That's kind of how it works out
well,
there. Right, let's get back to the racing now. We talked about the prize money. These are the riders who are in with a chance of that. The riders in Category 1 are going through the second of our sprints. This is the Bahrain sprint, and making their way down and through. So let's see who has come out top of the tree, who's going to be a little bit further down those standings.
well, really
So the
nice to
riders
see
go
Angie.
through looking good.
Look at that. I was just about to say it's really nice to see Angie Para in the midst of this Category 1 group. She's progressed from Category 2. Now, she won Category 2 final last week, so great to see her in here. But it is indeed the Category 2 riders who are setting the fastest time through this segment. You can see 28 seconds through the Bahrain sprint for Catherine Montoya. Jenny Tan in there as well, 29.5, just 1.3 seconds back. But it is Garcia, the first Category 1 rider, in 7th, followed by Zabala, who is the first Category 3 rider, in 8th. So what we can pull from that pretty much is that these packs are all moving at a pretty steady pace, and I'm just scrolling down the screen to see what pace Category 4 went through at, and well, that's not much different either. So the packs pretty much moving through that part of the course at a steady pace, all very similar, but it's Montoya setting the fastest time through there today.
So Category 1 currently at 14.5 kilometers. Category 2 approaching 20 kilometers on the course. 5K separating groups. The leading groups of Category 1 and 2 as they make their way down through this race. And certainly looking
I think we might just...
really good. Oh, sorry. Yes, that's my apologies. Do you know what? My eyes are clearly going. I'm getting old. They're at 8.5 and 11K. I'm reading minutes as kilometers. Maybe I'm wishing my life away here.
I think what we need to do is we need to ask Matt to take his glasses off and clean them whilst we just take a little look at Category 1 and Category 2. So just to confirm, Category 1 are at 8.5 kilometres and Category 2 are at 11.2. Coking now being
I know I'm
back.
old, but I'm not that bad, you know.
Well, I don't know about that, but Coking now being brought back into that group in Category 2, that early push on from her being brought back as we're watching Catherine Fuhr in this Category 1 race. They are now moving up and over this incline at the moment. The gradient just shy of 3% as Fuhr pushes on, and she's pushing on hard actually. You've just seen 6 watts per kilo come out of Catherine Fuhr as she just sits back up, but it's made Quevedo and Biarhead respond. Julie Sanchez has put a little kick in to close the gap, and we've got a little bit of a stretch now on this Category 1 pack. The pack, not the 50 riders we saw come out of the start pen, but still quite significant at the moment. So Santiago is there, Quevedo, Enquist, Biarhead, Fuhr, Menendez, who is in there as well. Alvarez, Bodaskaya is there. The riders pushing on, and just taking a little look there, they are around 50 seconds off of the back of the last rider in Category 2. So Category 1 starting 5 minutes behind Category 2, but now not far off the back of that earlier starting race field.
And the front of that earlier starting race field is Mary Joyce Coking. She's still got the attack going at the moment. She's on the depression on the course at what is 12.4 kilometers. But Coking has got company chasing behind. Montoya, Vasquez, Embring, Vahek, we've got Hermansen in there, Cabanatan as well. So a chasing pack of riders trying to close the gap down on our race leader as they make their way down this straight underneath the tunnels. It's just a long sweeping curve. They can see what's happening in front of them. They can see that Coking is there. Coking, if she looked in her rear view mirror, which you can do on MyWhoosh. Remember, our riders can change their view to see what they want. They can look forwards, they can look backwards to see where the action is. if they can do that whilst they're racing flat out, then that is some serious multitasking. Some riders actually have people to move those views around on demand when they sort of shout it out in between breaths. But however these riders set up, they can always take a look around, and you can see they've got their target in front. It would be sort of the carrot in front of the donkey sort of syndrome. It's that target, it's that little fish hanging on a hook in front of the big shark chasing it behind, because it is that bait to just sort of drag the riders on. But they're not. This isn't a concerted chase, is it, here, Emma? It's not one long line, and we're starting to see a pattern emerge here because we've got Catania off the front in Category 4.
Yeah, and I think it was, well, Catania went first in this Category 4 race, and she went really early, and she'd put a gap in. The gap now of 48 seconds back to what looks as though it's pretty much the entirety of the race field behind her. So Fabiana Catania pushing on and pushing on early in this Category 4 race. She's now at 17.65 kilometres, and she's got that gap. It's fluctuating at the moment around 45 to 50 seconds. This is the chase group behind. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm looking at around 8 riders in that group at the moment. So 1 rider out clear, 8 riders in the chase, and this is a packed chase field. Isabel Giraldo is here, De Gracia, Idix, Giuliano, Arrayas, Vink is in here as well. So is Isabella Giraldo. 2 Giraldos in this Category 4 race, Isabel and Isabella. One is an under 23 rider, so needing to pay close attention and not get those 2 confused, but they are in that chase group behind Catania. Now, in Category 3 on the left-hand side of your screen, we can see a good, strong group there. Lytton is currently leading that with Kokkonen and Pelagio in there. 16.2 kilometres they are coming up to. So they are indeed about to see the back of that Category 4 race field, because if you can take a look at the top right-hand corner of your screen, you can see the blue blob, which is the leading Category 3 group, about to sweep up the 2 Category 2 blobs in front of them. In fact, this is Sarasuk they are about to ride up onto the wheel of. So Category 3 now moving on. Alzat, Mabin, Pelagio, Lytton, Kokkonen, Hadlock, all in the leading group, now starting to work their way through the back of the Category 4 race field.
And as you can see, just coming into the Watan sprint, this is the sprint after our aquarium climb, so this is sprint number 3 of 5. If you are a new viewer, the riders, you'll notice, are not generally contesting the sprints, and that is quite simply because there is no prize money on there. It's a great way, though, for us to get an indication of exactly who is doing what, of who is in what group, a snapshot on the relative pace and speed. A little bit further back, Jenny Tan at the moment is also motoring. She's at 12 kilometres, so she's about to make her way on to the climb, onto the aquarium climb, going up out from this depression, this descent down at the moment. So Jenny Tan just dropping down at the moment, 0.5. It's leveling off at the base of the climb, and she is going to see the Category 1 leading pack coming up on the wheel. Now is Tan going to respond? Is she going to jump in? It's not the optimum place to join the group, but she's picked a pace up here, and she is just starting to assimilate herself into that group.
Yeah, she is indeed. So the Category 1 race field catching Jenny Tan at the back of the Category 2 race field. But Tan picking up the pace and slotting comfortably into that group at the moment. Now, is she going to stay there? At the moment, they are on a pretty flat section, just slightly downhill. Shortly, they will be seeing a climb. And the question is, will Tan be able to stay with them to take a toe back up to competitors in that Category 2 race field? Because on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see where they are. So Ochoa, Montoya, Urbano, all in this group on the right hand side of your screen. They are they are in the tunnels under the ocean at the moment, but you can see the difference being around 2.2 kilometers further down the road.
So 2.2k separating the groups at the moment, and Category 2 are pushing on nicely here, and they're at 15.3 kilometers, so they're in that little bumpy section that comes up towards the end of the aquarium climb in its entirety. The aquarium climb, you'll remember from the profile, 2.1k long, but it's got its initial climb and then it is rolling across the top of the plateau to the final high point of that climb, and that is at 15.7k, so 200 meters. In fact, the polka dot banner is coming into sight. It's just at the end of the tunnels. Don't you dare doubt my eyesight. I don't know. So here they go, coming up towards the banner and making their way in towards the end of the climb here. And this means we're going to get an indication of their time up there. But of course, Category 1 are at the other end. They're just going through the start of the climb banner. So both leading groups in Category 1 and 2 underneath their respective banners at the start and finish of the climb. Let's see who's going to use this climb, or what are we going to see from the riders. Already starting to see it picking up the pace here a little bit. It's starting to stretch out. This has got to be key, Emma, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has indeed. The climb here for this Category 1 pack, I think, is indeed going to be key because you can already see the stretch on that group. So if you take a look on the top right-hand corner of your screen in that satellite navigation, you can see we've got one Category 1 rider already dropping off the back of that. And Jenny Tan is working so hard to stay. But there she goes, Jenny Tan now dropping off the back of that group as the leading part of that group, Concertina, back together again. It's looking like we've got so one or two Category 1 riders dropped off. Jenny Tan, our Category 2 rider, dropping off, but the majority of that Category 1 pack pushing on. We've got one rider just needing to push on those pedals to close the juncture, and there is, as we've seen, Catherine Fua push off the front. Now this is interesting. Fua has been marking the front of this race field. She finished third in the final. She's obviously on some significant form at the moment, and she is making the action at the front of this race field today. Quevedo, Olsen, Fua, Manshandi, all up there at the moment pushing on.
And she's elicited a response because she is a danger. These riders know she is a strong rider, and you don't want to let a strong rider like Catherine Fua go down the road and take a march on anybody else. And the other riders are also looking at that from the possibility of going away in a smaller group to break this up. Go in a leading group, you're suddenly taking those odds down, because the less riders you go into the finish with, the less chance there is of being overtaken. So is this the opportunity that they've been looking for? Well, we will see as they come through. They take that right-hand turn. You can see we're at 14.7k, and that means that we're now into that sort of bumpy rolling section. It's not a full flat rolling bumpy that we see on Columbia, but it's pretty close across the top of this climb. And at the moment, Quevedo, the rider we're in with the rider with that phenomenal kick, up in with this leading group with that black helmet, white shoes on there, just tucking in at the back of the group, but they are rolling through well here. And this is a smart pace, but it's not full on race pace. We've seen the numbers on the right hand side of your screen, where you can see our leaderboard on the right hand side and the positions in the race overall. We're just alongside the watts per kilo. They are not crazy. These riders are capable of so much more.
Yeah, they are capable of a huge amount more than they are currently doing. So Quevedo at the moment are sitting around 4 watts per kilo, just rolling through the terrain now, just about to kick again, slightly moving up to about 2%. Just over, wow, 2.5. It's moving up quite a bit at the moment as they push on, and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel there. So we have Biarhead, Olsen, Manshandi, Quevedo all in this group. As Olsen just kicks around 5.8 watts per kilo just to pull the pack out of this tunnel. Julie Sanchez responding, so's Alvarez as well. They're all responding now as they push on. In fact, it is indeed Julie Sanchez pushing on over the front of Morgane Olsen at the front of the group as the rest of the group push on to close down as they go underneath that banner. Now, this pack really motoring well.
They are, and they're through that finishing banner. Let's take a look at the leaderboard. So here we go. As they came up the Aquarian climb, that kick by Olsen, giving her the fastest time, 336.260, 4.5 watts per kilo to achieve that, and 290 watts average for that climb. But look at the names behind: Santiago, Quevedo, Mashandi, Baraskaya, Sanchez. The real big favourites. Good to see that we have got some of our newer riders coming up as well, but we're going to see a real difference, aren't we? I mean, that is Category 1 power. They are right at the front here, Emma. Category 2, 3 and 4 are further back because this is where the power really does tell.
Yeah, it does indeed. So 18 riders in that leading group of Category 1. Angie Parra now distanced from that leading group. So strong ride from Parra moving up from Category 2, but now distanced from the leading group in Category 1. Category 2 moving through 35 seconds slower on the climb, so indicating the difference in quality of the race fields. We're now in with Category 3, our blue jersey wearers. They are now coming up for 21 kilometres onto this course. They are not far now off the climb, but they are stretched on this rolling section. They're catching the back of that Category 4 race field and now slowly coming back together again, but a real stretch now taking place as Pelagio and Mabin and Dalasay are pushing on. Alzat is at the front of this pack as well. They're trying to bring it back together again, but small gaps now opening up in that Category 3 race field.
Yeah, that Category 3 field on that dip that we talked about when we were at the start of the show, going down the depression and the climb out that brings you in towards the RAK, the Rex Sprint, the final sprint of the day. So between sprints number 4 and 5, that drop, that depression, that climb. The Category 1 riders, they're a long way away from that yet. They are still at 17 kilometres covered of 35k. So they're not yet at quite at half race distance, as we see the riders in Category 3, 4 up at the very front of the race. Now, through the next of our sprints here, this is sprint 3 of 5, and you can see going through there, Al Mansouri leading the riders through. So Musa Al Mansouri ahead of Angie Parra, then Sanchez, Biarhead, Badaskaya, Digga Mashandi. They are the top 6 as they came through there. 28-second time for that. So moving but not going too crazy. But look at the watts per kilo from Al Mansouri. 6.2 watts per kilo. That is some serious power.
It is. Al Mansouri is one of our Category 4 riders. I think that's a deliberate intention to get her name at the front of that sprint. And good on Al Mansouri, showing what she can do. Absolutely. So that section, 300 meters, 6.2 watts per kilo, giving her a time of 28 seconds, leading the pack, and she's leading through those Category 1 riders. Angie Parra doing something similar, pushing on through that section and setting the fastest time in Category 1, even though she's been distanced from the group we are watching. The group we are watching is the leading group coming through that 300 meter sprint section, 6 seconds slower than Al Mansouri. 2 seconds slower than Parra, but this is the leading group in Category 1, and Sanchez is here, Julie Sanchez is here, and Jenny Sanchez is here, Bardeskaya, Biarhead, Olsen, Fua, Osorio is in here, so is Santiago, and Engstrom, and Gonzalez, and Menendez. This is still a big pack, 18 riders at last count in this group.
So 18 riders last count, and we expect that to be whittled down further. One of the key sections will be coming up very shortly for the riders in Category 1. That is the dip and then that rise, the penultimate dip and rise before the final climb. But on to the final climb very shortly. We are going to see our riders. Currently, this is the big climb out that we're talking about, though, for the leader in Category 4. Fabiana Catania is on this climb, and you can see, if you look at the top right-hand side of your screen, we have this rise out from the depression in the deeper depths, this climb up back into the city, up to the roundabout, and then out the other side is one of the toughest ascents, actually, in terms of steepness. It's not as big, it's not as long, it's not as hard as the final climb, but this can be decisive. And if you are struggling, this is where it's going to be really tough. But Catania at the moment, nice pace, really riding well, great to see.
Yeah, so Catania at the moment pushing on there, and this is the last climb, the last place to attack before that final Category 2 climb of the day. In fact, you can just see that on the right-hand side of that satellite navigation screen on Catania's screen on the right-hand side. A little further back down the road is Gina de Gracia. She's now pushing on from the front of that chase pack. So this is the Category 4 race. This is the race at the front of the field. These were the first riders to start today. Catania pushing on. She's holding that gap at around 45, 46 seconds, and that has been the distance, the gap for some time now in the race back to this group. So De Gracia now pushing on, Vink, Geraldo, Giuliano in here. So this is a strong chasing group. You know, De Gracia I don't think is going to do much more than hang out front there, but the question is when or if they are going to work together to bring Catania back, or are they going to leave this completely till the final climb of today?
Well, they're running out of time to decide that, because I think that decision may be taken away from them by Catania's pace. She's pushing in to that final climb. She's at the front of the race. She's our leader in Category 4, the first of our leaders on the course. This is the leading group of Category 1. The riders are with the most distance still to cover. They're approaching 20 kilometers, but with 500 meters to go to that point at 19.5k, they have just made their way through the start of the Liwa Desert Sprint. So this is another of our 300-meter snapshots, which is our real function of them here on the Sunday Race Club. Unlike when the championships, where there were prizes up for grabs in the sprint competition, do have a watch back on YouTube, on Twitch TV. But as you can see, we've got Quevedo here just nicely tucked in this group, not contesting sprint, going through all together. Have they got the fastest time, though? That is the key question here, because as they make their way through this sprint, if they are on the pace, if they are really giving this big beans, then they are going to set the fastest time. If their pace has eased off, you may well see the Category 2, 3 and 4 going quicker. Here we are. I'm going to find out. Emma, take us through those times.
Yeah, so Al-Mansouri absolutely having a sprint session today, because the Category 4 rider setting the fastest time again and again. Look at that, 6 watts per kilo average through there. She really is doing some sprint training today. That is obviously the motivation and aim of her session on the Sunday Race Club. Fastest time 27 seconds through there. Now it is Category 3 that follow. So it's Category 3 setting the next set of fastest time, so 31.32 seconds for the Category 3 riders, and that takes us right the way down to 8th is Angie Parra setting the fastest time on Category 1, slotting into 9th position. But the rest of the Category 1 pack, well, they pretty much are 15th and downwards, very much mixed in with Category 2. So again, Category 1 and Category 2, very, very similar times. In fact, Category 4 only 1 second slower than that Category 2 and Category 1 mix. So pretty much, other than Al-Mansouri doing a sprint session today and utilising the segments to achieve that, the rest of the race field moving through that segment between 31 and 32 seconds.
And you can see we're in with Musa Al-Mansouri here. She's riding steady as tempo, and I think you're right, Emma. I think 100% that she is on a race ride where she is basically putting a training ride in here, but still getting a qualifying ride in, because we need 2 qualifying rides from our riders to go through to the final. But she seems to be doing the sprint section and using those sectors to put that pace down, and if that is what is working for her, then great. It's she's one of our regular riders, and testing yourself in those sprints, it is a way to develop that ultimate power, isn't it? That big kick. You won't develop it unless you actually train it.
Yeah, and our riders who are on the Sunday Race Club week in, week out. Now, I I'm going to caveat this by saying some of our riders who join us week in, week out are not always racing for those top 5 positions every single weekend. While some of them may be, others like Al Mansouri, you know, you're looking for a verified ride to qualify for the finals. Now, depending upon what's on your racing schedule and what's on your training plan, you know, utilising the Sunday Race Club in that way, as Al Mansouri is doing today, you know, is one way to get that verified ride and qualify for the final if it fits in with your programme. Now, looking at the rest of the race field, you can see our Category 1 riders at 21.3 kilometres in the race. At the front of the race field, 27 kilometres into this 35-kilometre race. For Catania, she is still the leader on the road, our Category 4 rider. Our Category 3 riders now just looking around 1.1 kilometres behind. That is still a large pack of Category 3 riders. We've got a pack at the front of Category 2 as well, and a large pack still at the front of Category 1. At last count, that was 18 riders in that lead group in that Category 1 race. They are now coming up for 22 kilometres into this 35-kilometre race. And let's not forget, the last 7.5 kilometres is on that Category 2 climb.
So let's take a look at that Category 2 climb here. Sorry, Emma, that gives us the final part of the race. I think we're about to say exactly the same thing. So here we go. The Category 2 climb at the end here is the decisive part. And one of the key things here is that we've got 4 big groups coming into this. And Category 1 and 2 particularly, very big groups, likely to come together on the climb or the run into the climb, given the distances between. But the draft effect will not work as hard here. You can see it's got slight stagger in it. There's tiny little steps in there. Emma, do you think that's going to affect the riders, given that the total ascent here is huge? It's 415 metres for this climb.
I think the length is probably going to pay... or should I say, I think the length of the climb is going to have more impact than the steepness of this climb. Particularly in terms of that climbing endurance is going to be absolutely key today. Rather than putting in a big kick and trying to ride away, I think it's going to be a rider who can maintain a slightly higher, steadier pace on this climb that is going to do well today. But without the really, really steep sections that we see in other climbs, we may well see groups of riders staying together more than we may expect with a climbing finish. And you can just see our Category 3 riders going under that start banner at 27 kilometres. They are now on to that climb, and we're in with Dalasay at the moment. Now, 13 riders in this leading group in this Category 3 race. So 13 riders out of the 15 starters coming in to the base of the climb together.
So here we go. So it is time for the Category 3 to kick on here and to push our way up on to the top. Category 3 time. It is time for the go, 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 as the saying goes, to kick on. You can see that gradient 6.2. She goes up on to the 4%. It's just yo-yoing on its way through here. Riders in front, though, and when we look at the number of riders in front of this group, there are 9 riders to get to the very front of the race. Catania is some way down the road, though. Emma, this is shaping up to be a real fast finale.
It is indeed, and just taking a little look as to who's moving towards the front of this Category 3 pack, and it's Lytton, Hino, Mabin, Alzat, Holweller now moving up and through as well. Dalasay is in there. No one wants to let this go yet because everybody wants to hang in there as long as possible. And, well, you may well be saying shut up legs at the moment, but I think that's going to be more reserved for the top of this climb rather than the bottom. But the gradient just relenting a little. So I'm expecting this group to come back together again a little bit more. And we are now seeing that as this group of very well matched riders start their way up this Category 2 climb.
So here we go, time to see who's going to be able to take away those top 5 prizes here today. 5 prize winners in each of our categories. Categories 4, 3, 2, and 1. Category 4 and Category 3 leaders are on the climb. Category 2 at the moment, they are at 25.6k, so they are currently in our final sprint segment. Remember, the sprint finishes, then we move across to the climb. The climb starting at 27 kilometers. Further back still is the Category 1 leading group, but they are now about 800 meters off the riders at the front of Category 2. 3 and 4 much further up, and we're just taking a look at Category 1 and Category 2. These two big groups are going to come together, and I'm not sure that they're going to do that on the flat. I suspect this will be on the main final climb itself.
Yeah, they are definitely going to come together, these two groups today. And I think you're right, Matt. I think Category 2 will reach the base of the climb before that happens, because that Category 1 pack, it's a very, very steady pace that Category 1 pack are riding at the moment. Very comfortable, I would say, because looking at Jenny Sanchez, heart rate 159, slowly climbing as the pace pushes on a little bit. And that's because they are on this final climbing section before they hit the flat run in to our final Category 2 climb today. So Jenny Sanchez leading this group up that final part of the climb. Julie Sanchez there as well. Morgane Olsen coming over the top, as well as Manshandi. Quevedo is there too. No one is going to let anybody go at this point in time, because, as we said, this is the final climb before the main part of this race, and this group are going to want to go into that climb all together and then settle the score there today.
Well, the rider's just pushing over the top, just going to weed out anybody who's not quite on the ball. But it's, as Emma said, it's not going to have any effect here. I think this is one big group that are going into that climb. A bit further up the road, you can see that the Category 3 leaders are about to catch the Category 4 chasers, because we had at our last view a solo leader on the road overall in Catania. And just getting a time check, this is still the case. 40 seconds the gap back, but you can see this fantastic helicopter shot down. The riders in red, they are the Category 4 chasing group, and a move being made by the Category 3 riders. You can see as the riders come up to the back of a bigger group, that draft, as they get into the draft, they get spat through there. They still draft at this speed. It's not steep enough at 5% to reduce the pace down, where draft has no effect. It may be been taken down, it may not be at its maximum effect, but it is still there. It's definitely there for Category 1 as they go through the end of the final sprint segment. And that means we're going to get an idea of who was coming into the climb on the pace and who has come into the climb off the pace. And that is going to be really interesting to see who was really giving it some and who was just maybe saving their powder, just keeping it dry before that final flash of explosive power that's required to get to the top. Emma, take us through the results.
Well, it is indeed Al-Mansouri again setting the fastest time through that segment. So 27 seconds this time round for Al-Mansouri, our Category 4 rider today on that final sprint segment. Then it is the Category 1 pack coming through 2 seconds slower, being led by Liliana Moreno all the way through and down. So really interesting to see our Category 1 riders all together there coming through. So we're back in with this Category 1 pack all together. Taking a look at the top right-hand corner of your screen, it's looking like we've lost one rider off the back of this pack as they swing round towards the roundabout and on the run into the bottom of that climb. That rider actually is... looking at that, I think that's Enquist, who is the rider who has been dropped off the back. So we already lost Angie Parra. She was the first rider to drop off this group. Jessica Enquist is the next rider to drop off this group. Morgane Olsen is the rider leading out the pack at the moment, but Olsen pushing on with Bardeskaya, Alvarez, Quevedo, Bjarhed, Marin and Menendez all in here at the moment. The group can now see the polka dot banner indicating the start of this final Category 2 climb today.
So here we go. This is the riders coming in Category 1. We've got our leaders on here. This is going to be the point at which Catania is going to see her lead in the race overall being swept away. The riders come up on to her heels and making their way in to the climb up on to the slopes. We are going to have just over 5 kilometers to go. We're at 29.4k at the moment. This is going to be key, and you can see she's responding. She's trying to hold on to those wheels, so it certainly looks to me like those Category 3 riders are going to continue to push on. Catania doing an amazing job of holding off the group for so long, almost into the final 5 kilometers. Great debut for Fabiana Catania here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
Yeah, so Catania pushing on there. It was 7 Category 3 riders in that leading group going past. Lytton, Mabin, Hino, Holweller, Alzat, Kokkonen, Dallasay, all in there. So absolutely fantastic to see this group. You know, this is such a strong group. This could be anybody's race today in Category 3. Going past and heading out onto the lead on the road today. But this is the Category 1 race field. They started 15 minutes behind Category 4. 10 minutes behind Category 3, 5 minutes behind Category 2. They are all now on this final climb. And this is one large group of Category 1 riders, 17 riders at last count.
So 17 riders at the last count in Category 1. Category 2, right-hand side of your screen. They are continuing to push hard here as they go on this climb, as they are continuing to force their way in and through. And now they've really got to keep that kick coming. So we are at 28.5k for Category 2, 27.9k for Category 1. And one of the reasons this is really important is when you get a group catching another group, that's where you're going to get confusion. You're going to be able to maybe use that to your advantage. So it's not just about gradient on the climb, it's also about when you come into a group. If you catch a solo rider, it's not going to have much effect. Catch a big group together. As a big group, it's carnage. That's when you've got to have your wits about you, and that's when you've got to be on the ball, haven't you, Emma?
You do, because this is where we often see attacks come slightly early off the front of a pack. So let's say, for example, this Category 1 pack comes onto the back of the Category 2 pack. You may see an attack come out of that Category 1 race field before they make the juncture to the back of the Category 2 field, to use the confusion of going up and through the Category 2 race field to try and get away. Because the riders can see exactly what we can see as viewers on the screen. So if 2 large groups of, say, 13 riders and 17 riders come together, you are not going to get all the information as a rider in that pack about the entirety of that group. So you don't know potentially who's kicking hard, who isn't, and where they are in the group. And often that confusion is utilized by our riders in their race tactics. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Will this group of Category 2 riders be this large if or when the Category 1 race field catch them? Because at the moment it's Embring on the front of this group. Walkenhurst, Quintero, Octiza, Ruiz are here as well. Hermansen is moving her way through this field as well. But this is steady pace climbing from this Category 2 race field, a pace that most of these riders can hold and stay in this group.
And if you're a Category 1 rider, what can you do to minimise the effect of that? Is it do what we're seeing here by Moreno, go on the front so that you are going to be the one making the confusion, or is it just a case of just being really aware? Is there anything in particular you could do to stop yourself being at the mercy of other people as the groups come together?
Well, it's a tactical part of the race, isn't it? And it's about, you know, knowing and being aware of what is likely to happen and either responding to it, or rather than defense, offense, you know. And Moreno here and Julie Sanchez are the two riders pushing on. Why wait on this climb until you meet a group of riders in front of you? Why not actually make the racing happen? And that is what Moreno is doing at the moment. We've got one long line of Category 1 riders behind her. So Moreno is there, Manshandi, Sanchez, Quevedo are the riders. Fua is watching what's going on at the moment. So is Santiago and Menezes. Now, Jessina Menezes, we've not seen a lot of her today.
We haven't seen much of Jessina Menezes, and yet we know she is a rider more than capable of taking the win. She's there. You can just see her with that cap with the blue, yellow and black bands diagonally across. That she's tucked nicely into this group. She's stayed out of the wind. She's saved that energy. She's been in there riding very calmly indeed. Very, very cool customer. Clearly, Jessina Menezes on this climb. As we move in towards our final 5K, we are going to know when we hit that, because the riders generally know that is a point where they can go to the finish with some serious attacks. But I think because of the length of this climb, we're already seeing riders in trouble behind, and these riders now are coming in tight left-hand turn here. This is one of those points which is a good place to go hard, because this is where the vision in front is minimized, and that makes a difference to the riders who are chasing. It's harder to keep a track, but they're going to come in cleanly. They're not catching other riders, and that will be to the advantage of those riders who are on the defensive rather than the offensive. Changing gradient goes down to 1% or 2% at the moment. So that flattening of changing the rhythm, changing the pace here. As we see another push on here, we are going to see a few riders left, I think, by the time we come into the finish. This is not going to be a big group that is going to hit the line. However, look at Category 2. It is also starting to get thinned down here as well. Very similar race development and really execution, I think, in Category 1 and 2 here, Emma.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting to see this Category 1 race field has been whittled down, now around 11 riders. The Category 2 race field, well, that looks to me as though it is slightly bigger at the moment, but only just. My only concern is Koking's heart rate at 243. I'm not sure that's reading correctly at the moment, but Walkenhurst, Ruiz, Marin, Vasquez, Embring, Obdano is there as well. Now 24 seconds back to the Category 1 race field. I think that catch is coming, but this group are going to need to make their minds up whether they are going to continue to ride at this steady state up the climb together, or whether someone is going to try and push off the front.
Push off the front. Just do it. Don't hesitate. Just do it.
I don't think they are at the moment. They are right across the road, Matt. Now, that indicates to me that it is a very consistent pace coming out of all of the riders in this pack at the moment. So the Category 2 race, the fire has not really been lit under the front of it at the moment, with 3 riders wide across the road, and they are well and truly now into this climb.
Yeah, we have only got less than 5 kilometers to the finish. The group across the road here, and it's almost like everybody's just waiting. Who is going to be the first to blink? Who's going to be the first to really push the pedals in anger on this climb in a decisive way? Let's see who is going to take this. It could be really interesting here. This is a big group of riders. This is going to be a really tough decision when to make. And remember, if you go 5K to the finish, you might be able to get a bit of recovery in and go again. You might have 2 bites of the ice cream here. Whereas, if you leave it to the last kilometre, you are only going to get 1 chance to have a go at this. You're not going to be able to recover. You leave it to 500 meters to go. It is, you know, it's do or die at that moment. There's nothing left. There's nowhere left to go.
Well, nowhere left to go, but Catherine Fuhr is pushing on at the moment at the front of the Category 1 race field, because take a look at that. Just ahead is indeed that Category 2 race pack. So Sanchez, Fuhr, Manshandi, Olsen pushing forward. 5 riders coming off the front of that Category 1 race field. The rest of them are concertinaing back into them, because on this bend, that's the Category 2 race field ahead. 13 Category 2 racers caught by 11 Category 1 racers. It is all over the road. Take a look at that aerial shot. You can see the fact that they have not quite gone through that group. The group is picking up the pace. You can see 5.5 watts per kilo coming out of the front of that Category 2 race field. Quintero pushing on. She doesn't want to get consumed by that Category 1 pack, but it is one large pack coming in. One rider just pushing off the front there as they work their way through the field of green jerseys.
What a fantastic camera shot from that helicopter. It really showed you the group sort of coming together, but just breaking, coming together. And I think you're right here. Quintero and Ochoa are thinking, do you know what? When this group comes through, I want to be on that wheel. I want to be the last rider that gets dropped off the back of that Category 1 if they can drop me. It's all very tactical, and the hand has been forced to a degree on the riders in Category 2 by the collection by the Category 1. At the front of Category 1, the rider who's making the most of this at the moment is Moreno, who's pushing on. Liliana Moreno, 7.1 watts per kilo coming out. Fantastic power to weight ratio, perfect for coming on to this climb. Being chased by Julie Sanchez, then Dana Manshandi, Karuk Cavado, Morgan Olsen, Camilla Marin. The riders behind need to respond, and they need to respond now. Time is ticking down. We now are approaching 31.5 kilometers, and that means that time well and truly is against the riders to go clear. They have got to make those decisive moves pretty quickly, or they are going to have their hands forced, just as we saw for Category 2. Cross on the other side of the screen, on the right hand side of your screen, you can see the Category 3 riders. This group, they're together again, but it's a steep section here, 8% climb here. That is going to be taking its toll on the riders, and I think that's why the distances between the riders have been reduced.
Well, we know Liliana Moreno is a phenomenal rider, and she climbs really well. Cavado is there with her, and so is Manshandi. Julie Sanchez, Marin is there too. Olsen now also moving through the pack. Now, this is interesting because the Category 1 riders, you can just see them starting to form their own group. The Category 2 riders have tried to hang on. They've tried to hang on. And in fact, one rider still hanging on to the back of that group, and that is Quintero. So phenomenal job being done by Olivia Quintero at the moment to hang as long as possible with that Category 1 group. It is real motivation to dig and dig and dig to try and stay, because she knows if she can hang into that group and hang on there, it is just going to increase her lead over the other Category 2 riders. Now, they are not far behind, but they are indeed behind, and they are now being distanced, as that Category 1 group is a tight group. With Quintero right in the middle of it. The Category 2 race field, well, they have been left behind.
It's a great tactical move by Quintero there, a perfect spot by Emma here on the slopes, the final slopes of the MyWhoosh, the climb that is the culmination of today's race here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club here in Arabia. We are going to see the final action unfold over the final 2.5 kilometers for our Category 1 riders. Meanwhile, the very front of the race, well, they are up the road almost by 1 kilometer exactly on the road, pretty much to the meter. And it looks to me like this Category 3 race field, the leaders here, it's a minimal group. I make that about 7, maybe 8 riders there. And that is a compact group, but it's probably not as small as these riders want. But you can see from the gradient, that gradient is steady here. And at the front is Kekkonen. Great return by Noveline Kekkonen to the racing. And at the moment, she's in that leading group in Category 3.
Yeah, she is indeed. And 1, 2, 3, 4 riders towards the front of that group with just a little bit of stretch now on there. But the rest of those riders, so we're looking now as though Kokkonen in 1, Holtweiler in 2, Mabin in 3, Lytton in 4, Hino in 5, Dallasay and Alzat are the 2 riders just distanced there a little bit. Hino is with them. You can just see the stretch on the group, and the group keep coming back together. So 3 riders at the front, now 4, 3 riders behind. This group continuing to stretch, currently just shy of 6% on this climb. You know, this is an interesting leading group on this category 3 race. There is such strength and talent in this group. It is going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. Well, it's not just the category 3 race that's playing out in front of us, it's also the category 1 race, because that is still a really big group, Matt.
It is, and I'm starting to get concerned in terms of these riders' chances in terms of breaking away. If this comes down to a sprint finish, you're probably narrowing down the contenders to maybe 3 or 4 of these riders, because we know that some riders just have that snap, that instant kick that's required. But having said that, we are still looking at 2 kilometers to go, and that is too far to solo to the finish with a full-on effort. You've got to still pace that. So this is getting really, really interesting. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I think we may see a gradient change to actually the instigator of somebody's attack, because as you go around those hairpin turns, it flattens, it increases, it flattens. One of the really interesting things here is actually with the category 2 races was category 1, the riders behind, they are not that far behind. If you looked at the gap, it's only 3 or 4 seconds, and here they come. Well, so the pace coming off category 1 has been to the detriment of Quintero, because the category 2 chasers are about to make contact. This is going to put the cat amongst the pigeons in category 2 racing, because that chase back has been successful. Look at this. You are starting to see Ortiza come across the gap. Overheck is coming as well. This will mean it is by no means a done deal. We thought Quintero played a blinding masterstroke there, tactically going with the riders, but it's not paid off because of the efforts of the riders in category 2 and because of the reluctance in category 1 to put in a decisive race making move.
Well, that is it as well, isn't it? So we've now got 3 category 2 riders in that group. So just with that little, that's it. We now definitely have 3 riders in that group. So the category 1 race field, 3 category 2 leaders in there as well. Yeah, this is still, this category 1 race has not lit up yet, and we are running out of road at the moment. You know, there's some really strong, I would not want to take Julie Sanchez into a sprint. I'd not want to take Quevedo into a sprint, not at the top of this climb. So the climbers have really got to start moving, because they are going to run out of road very, very shortly. On the right-hand side of your screen, just 600 meters left in this race for the leaders on the road, and it is Kokkonen who is still off the front of this race. Novelin Kokkonen has taken a break from the Sunday Race Club. She has come back, and she is a force to be reckoned with at the moment as she goes under the polka dot banner, indicating the end of the climb segment and 500 meters to the finish line.
So here on the Sunday Race Club, 500 metres to go for the riders at the front of the race. It is our category 3 riders who are leading us up in towards the summit. Listen, Alze, Henao, Kokkonen, Holtweiler in there. Mabin is only 3 seconds off the pace. She could come back in. I think she's going to make it back in. Well, it's going to be very tight, though. This is all about who can put that final kick in. We're going to come around this right-hand turn. It's a tight right turn. It then kicks in up towards the finish. 300 meters go now, heading for 250. They're leaving it late. They're leaving it late. This is going to be tight. Who can go for this? Who's going to kick first? It could be the rider who kicks first. is going to take this. Here comes the yellow banner, and now we see a wrist box. And now he's going to be the first to put the big thing in, but she's not on the front because it's Howell at 8.5 watts per kilo. She was leading this out up on the front. Is it going to be Howell who's going to take this? They're all around her now. It's Henau, Howell, Henau, Howell, it's Henau. It's going to be Howell. Is it going to be Alzate who takes it? She goes through the finishing line. Carolina Alzate, your winner here as they go through the finish. What a finish there. That is going to come down to a photo finish. Emma, tell me, did I get it right on the sprint? I don't even know.
Well, let me tell you that I'm just trying to look back and see how many riders were within 1 second. 4 riders in that sprint within 1 second of each other. But let's just drop back to the action at the moment, because this is the Category 1 race field catching the Category 4 race field and the rest of the Category 3 race field. So they are now working their way through, and that is the end of the Category 2 climb segment. So Category 1 leading group now with less than 500 metres to go as they catch the back of the Category 4 race field and work their way through. So Fua is there, Quevedo, the riders now pushing on and coming to the fore of that group. They are moving through. It is absolutely going to be this group of riders who come into the finish next, because the finish is just round this right-hand bend. This is a huge pack of riders in this Category 1 race. No one has ridden away. Marin is here. Sanchez is here. Olsen, Fua kicks at 10 watts per kilo. Quevedo is at 9. So is Olsen. This group coming round the bend. They can see the finish line. It's Olsen in 1. Marin in 2. Santiago is there as Camilla. Marin kicks at 3. Sanchez goes at 15 and Fua is at 12. Julie Sanchez, she's got a phenomenal kick, but I think that was Camilla Marin. So wow, that was phenomenal. We've just seen a sprint in Category 3, a sprint in Category 1. And if you think that Category 3 sprint was difficult, for that Category 1 sprint, the top 5 riders today within 1 second of each other. It was indeed Julie Sanchez who took the win from Morgane Olsen. Never take Julie Sanchez into a sprint finish. Camilla Marin, Jenny Sanchez and Catherine Fua, the top 5.
Well, what a finish in all of our races. You can catch up with those results and all of the results when they're confirmed on the MyWhoosh.com website. Go to results. The women's race has been an absolute blinder here today on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's been a pleasure putting words to the action. My name's Matt Payne. If you're not going to watch the men's, why not? I don't know why you would not want to watch the men's. You can catch up with me. I'm going to be bringing you the World Championship mountain bike, all of the cross-country mountain bike. Emma, where can we find you?
You can find me at Biking Emma on Instagram. You can find me with the men's race next. I'm not here next week because I am on the indoor cycling at the World Championships Friday, Saturday and Sunday next week.
So if you don't catch up with us before the next women's race, we'll see you for qualifier race number 2. But we hope you're going to join us for the men's race on qualifier race number 1 on the Sunday Race Club. But from myself, from Emma, from the amazing team behind the scenes who made this happen, a massive thank you to our riders. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. We'll see you again soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye.